Good morning, everyone. This is Mrs. Rondo. We're going to be talking about reflections. For the notes today, I would encourage you to print the notes if you can, or use Cami to take notes on the Google Doc that is in Google Classroom. But here we go. You also might need some colors today. I'm going to be using purple, blue, and orange. So if you want to follow along with the colors, there you go. All right, our essential question: how do we reflect figures and draw lines of reflection? Our learning goals: I can draw an image of a figure given a pre-image and a line of reflection, and I can explain why a transformation or sequence of transformations is rigid or non-rigid. You're going to notice that second learning goal pop up quite a bit as we continue to talk about rigid motion transformations. Okay, so here we go. You'll notice a page number at the top. That's because this came directly from your textbook. But we're going to start here. Draw the image of triangle ABC after a reflection across line L. So I'm going to start with line L, and we're going to actually use a previous concept to help us out. We're going to actually use slope. So looking at line L, if I try to figure out the slope, I can really quickly grab a couple points where the line crosses exactly over that grid at a perfect corner there, and I can count. Using my slope, it looks like I go down 2 and right 1. So that would be down 2 and right 1, or a slope of -2/1. When we are doing reflections happen across perpendicular lines. So if this is my slope of my original line, the slope for my perpendicular line, that's a little m for slope and the little upside down t for perpendicular. This is a quick review. Perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. So reciprocal of -2/1. The reciprocal part of that would be flip the fraction. The negative means take the opposite sign. Since this one is negative, my negative reciprocal would be a +1/2. And we're going to use that slope to help us out. So one thing I do want to comment on for this one, because we're going from the right to the left, the way that our slope is going to work, this we would say rise 1 and run 2. But we can also do the reverse for both, which would be go -1 over -2, because negative divided by negative would be a +1/2. This would be go down 1 and go back 2. And I'll show how those work together very nicely. Okay, so I'm going to start with my first color. I'm going to start with purple. And I'm going to start at point A. And so when I try to go from A to the line of reflection, if I follow the literal slope of rise 1, run 2, I end up over here, which is not the line of reflection. So that's why I need to do my slope kind of backwards to figure out how I got to point A. So instead of going rise 1, run 2, I can go down 1 and go back 2, and there I am on the line of reflection. And I can check it by doing the literal slope from the line, from line L, and I can rise 1, run 2, and I'm back at point A. So those things work out really nicely. We're going to see a lot of the backwards version of slope here, the reverse, to help us out. All right, so that gives me my point, how I got from the line of reflection to point A. Excuse me, or from point A back to the line of reflection. Okay, so then my goal is to repeat that to find where is the point on the other side of the line of reflection. So since I went down 1, back 2, I'm going to copy that, down 1, back 2, and there I am at A prime. I'm going to switch colors to blue, and I'm going to do the same thing at C. So for C, I would go down 1, back 2 to get to my line of reflection, then down 1, back 2, and now I'm at C prime. And actually I want this on this side, sorry, C prime. Okay, then for my B, I'm going to go to orange. And so for B, this one's going to be a little bit different. Same problem. I have to use my kind of backwards version of slope, which is down 1, back 2. But when I go down 1, back 2, I have not yet made it to the line of reflection. So I'm going to do it again, down 1, back 2. Great, now I'm on the line of reflection. That means I have to do the slope twice. I did it twice to get from B to the line of reflection. So I'm going to do it twice to get to B prime. Then now that I have all my primes, I'm going to grab my regular writing utensil and I'm going to connect the dots. So A to B and B to C, and then of course A to C. And so hopefully if you look at those two pictures, they should look like if you folded your paper on line L, that those two triangles would match up. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. I'm going to start back with my slope, and I'm going to look for some key points where I can easily see that the line crosses the grid on exact little corners there. So if I count my slope, it looks like I'm going up 3 over 1. So I would say my slope is 3 over 1. Then when I go to do the perpendicular slope, I'm looking to do the negative reciprocal. So the perpendicular version would be negative 1/3. And so the perpendicular version is going to help me to count and check all of my points and reflect them. So I'm going to go to purple, first color, and I'm going to start at A. And this time when I do my slope, the perpendicular slope as it's written will make sense. I go from A, I go down 1 over 3. And I do want to point out really quickly, when you have a negative with your slope, that the negative you choose which number to put it with. So I'm going to do the negative as the top number, down 1, and I'm going to say right 3 or run 3. Okay? Down 1, run 3. Or right 3. Let's go back to purple. Fantastic. Here we go. So down 1, run 3 to the right. Down 1, run 3 to the right. There's A prime. Then I'm going to pick up my blue and grab B. And I'm going to do that again. Down 1, run 3. Down 1, run 3. So I make it to the line of reflection, and then I copy it past the line of reflection. And then for C is going to be a little bit funny. When I try to do this, if I try to go down 1, run 3, I'm not going to make it to the line of reflection. So I kind of have to do that backwards version of the slope again. So instead of down 1, right 3, I'm going to go up 1 and left 3. So up 1 and left 3, that gets me to the line of reflection. And then I would copy that again, up 1 and left 3, and there is my C prime. So also, hopefully you notice, A and B originally were on the left, and then A prime, B prime is now on the right. C was originally on the right, and then C prime is on the left. So it reflects or flips across that line. All right, then I would connect, whoopsie, let's do that a little bit better. Connect our points. We're going to connect the prime, so make sure to connect the correct points here. I think I can do that one better. I'm sorry, one more time. One better. There we go. And then A to B. And like that. There we go. And that is done. All right, so reflections here, there should be a table in your notes for you to copy this down. You don't need to necessarily write all of the lines. I'm going to highlight for you what is important. We have the rules for reflections. That's what we are taking notes on, so that's important. And we're going to be reflecting across different lines. We're going to reflect across the x-axis, the y-axis, sometimes the line y equals x, and then sometimes the line y equals negative x. And then all the rules are over on the right-hand side. So this column over here is the rules. Okay. And then the other thing I want to comment on quickly is just a reminder, the x-axis is the horizontal reference line on the graph. The y-axis is the vertical reference line on the graph. Y equals x is going to be what I call a perfect diagonal. It starts in the lower left and goes to the upper right. Y equals negative x does the reverse. It's a perfect diagonal in the opposite direction. So those are kind of what your lines of, lines of reflection are going to look like. All right, so then moving forward, let's take a look at, this is again from your textbook, page 77. We're going to reflect the figure with the given vertices across the given line. So I'm going to start by drawing my figure based on the ordered pairs. So S is at 3, 4. T is at 3, 1. U is at negative 2, 1. And V is at negative 2, 4. And I'm going to connect all those. It looks like I have a nice little rectangle here. I'm going to try that one again in a second. Fantastic. Okay, and we are told for this reflection that we are going to reflect across the x-axis. So we do have the rules that were listed above for this one. When it's the x or the y-axis, I think that those we can do kind of without the rules. You do have them there for your reference, but really we can do them just by looking and counting. So there's my x-axis, which I covered over, darkened it up using my regular writing utensil. I use purple for the figure. All right, so to flip it across the x-axis, every point has to maintain the same distance away from x. So I'm going to start with S. S is currently 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes away from the x-axis. So then I would go 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes away from the x-axis. And then I'm going to go back and erase those little squiggly lines. There we go. And then I'm going to go to my next one. T is 1 box away. So then I would do 1 box away below. So it's above, I flip it below. This will be T prime. Oops, I didn't mark S prime. Fantastic. And then going over here, U is 1 box above. So I go 1 box below U prime. V is 4 boxes above. So I go 4 boxes below V prime. And then I connect the dots. And that's it for the reflection. As soon as I get these connected. Fantastic. Okay, so let's take a look at example 4. For example 4, I'm going to go through and plot my points. So I have A at negative 4, negative 2. There's A. B is at negative 1, negative 1. And C is at negative 1, negative 4. And of course, I want to connect the dots. It looks like I have a nice little triangle. And then I'm going to be reflecting across the line y equals negative x. For this one, I'm going to go back and steal the rule. So y equals negative x, the rule says take your ordered pair, xy becomes negative y, negative x. I'm going to copy that over here. So I have xy becomes negative y, negative x. So the negatives here mean that we're going to be changing some signs. So I'm going to do this one ordered pair at a time. I'm going to start with A. A was at negative 4. I'm saying negative 2, excuse me. And I'm going to actually, even though I wrote that in purple, I'm going to rewrite this in black because I want us to know that that's separate from our work. So that was, sorry, one more time. That was x, y, negative x. So that's the rule we're following. And here we go. So I'm starting with A. My B is at negative 1, negative 1. And then my C is at negative 1, negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to jump over to blue now because now I'm going to work with transferring that across. Okay, so following the rule, I would say I do negative y, negative x. Okay, so negative, then the y value, negative, then the x value. When I simplify that, negative times a negative, I'm going to have A prime is at positive 2 and positive 4. So negative times a negative is positive. Then I go to B. And this one, it's not obvious that we're changing the x and the y, but I'm going to follow the same process. Negative y, negative x, and I get B prime is at 1, 1. And then finally for the C, following the rule, it says do negative, then the y value, negative, then the x value, And so C prime, again, negative times negative gives me positives. So I have 4, 1. All right, then I'm going to go put those on the graph. So A goes to 2, 4. B goes to 1, 1. A prime, B prime, and then C prime is at 4, 1. And so you can use the rule like we just did, or you can use the line and count, depending on what you're given and what you prefer. All right, let's look at our last two examples. So given the triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is the image of triangle ABC under a reflection, we're going to draw the line of reflection. Okay, so the way that we're going to approach this, I'm going to use my colors. I'm going to start with A, and I'm going to literally count how I get from A to A prime. Okay, and so the line of the reflection has to be in the middle, halfway between these points, which we are going to do. There's two different ways we can do it. This first way I'm going to show you is just counting. The other way is to literally find the midpoint using the formula we learned before. So we're looking for the halfway or the midpoint for every single pair, A and A prime, B and B prime, C and C prime. All right, so from A to A prime, I go down 6 and I go across, across 6, like so. Okay, so I'm going to cut that distance in half to find the midpoint. So that means I'm going to stop at 3. So I'll go down 3, and then I'm going to stop at going across 3, which in this case would mean I would come across 3 right here, and there's my point. So down 3 and across 3. That would be the midpoint. Then I'm going to do this in a different color for the next one. For blue, I'm going to choose B and B prime I'm going to do in blue. So for these guys, I'm going to count above just so I don't run into my purple there. So I would go across 2 and down 2. So I'm going to cut those distances in half. So now I'm going across 1 and then down 1. And then lastly, I'm going to use orange. And then C, same kind of thing from C to C prime. I'm going to go down 2 and across 2, and I cut those distances in half. So I go down 1 and then across 1. And then those midpoints, I'm going to take my regular writing utensil, and the midpoints, I'm going to connect them. And there's my line of reflection. All right, so that's one way to do it is with counting. The other way is to go through and actually find the midpoint. So now I'm going to do it by finding the midpoint using the midpoint formula. So I have A is at 4, 7. A prime is at 6, 3. So I'm going to find the midpoint from A to A prime. I'm looking for the midpoint. That formula says take the x values, add them up, divide by 2. So I'm going to start with A. The x value is 4. A prime, the x value is 6, divide by 2. And then follow the same way with the y's. And when I do that, I get my midpoint at, 4 plus 6 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. 7 plus 3 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. I get 5, 5. Let's go put that on our graph. Fantastic. Then I'm going to switch to blue. And I'm going to do, this is B to B prime, looking for the midpoint. I need those ordered pairs. Let's see, B is at 3, -1. B prime is at -1, 7. Looks like -1, 7. Yep. Okay, so then I'm going to grab my x values from B and B prime, divide by 2. The y values from B, excuse me, B and B prime. I add them up and divide by 2. All right, so when I do that, I get, 3 plus -1 is going to equal 2. Divided by 2, I get 1. -1 plus 7 is going to equal 6. Divided by 2, I get 3. So I'm going to put 1, 3 on my graph, excuse me. Okay, then our last one in orange, we're going to go C to C prime. And so I need those order pairs. C is at 2, 6. C prime is at 4, 2. Okay, so here we go, C to C prime, looking for the midpoint. So I would do C, the X value is 2, plus C prime's X value is 4. I'm going to add those up, divide by 2. And then the same for the Y's. And let's see what we get for our midpoint. So 2 plus 4 is 6, divided by 2 gives me 3. 6 plus 2 is 8, divided by 2 gives me 4. So I have 3, 4. Whoopsie, 4. Let's put it in the right spot. Let me erase that one. Sorry about that. Apparently I can't count. There we go. All right, then my final step is to grab my regular writing utensil, and I'm going to connect those midpoints, and that's going to give me my line of reflection. And that is it. Great job, guys. Thanks. We'll see you later.